Hi everyone, Bob Dietrich here with the ADHD Toolbox. And today, I'm excited because we have someone named Dr. Shawn Talbott on the program with us. Dr. Talbott is an expert in psychoneurology or nutrition, psychonutrition, and understanding how what happens in your body and the nutrition you get affects your brain, and it can definitely affect ADHD. In a negative way, and when you fix it, you can totally transform what you're going through. So, Dr. Talbott, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate your time and being willing to come on the program and share your information with our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure being here.
All right. Well, just a little background that you'll want to know about Dr. Talbott. Not only is he a psychonutritionist, which you may have never heard. I've never heard of that title before, but it's awesome, and it tells you exactly what he does. He studies natural approaches to help people feel and perform their best. He received a bachelor's degree in sports medicine and fitness management from Marietta College, master's degree in exercise science from UMass, and entrepreneurship from MIT, and his PhD is in nutritional biochemistry from Rutgers. So welcome to the show. This is going to be awesome because what we're going to talk about today is your two brains, and people don't think of themselves as having two brains. And so we're going to talk about what those two brains are and how that second brain is affecting your first brain, the one in your head. So Dr. Talbot, what do you mean by two brains?
Yeah, well, two brains, people are sometimes surprised to hear that. They know about the brain and the head. And when I start talking about two brains, you can see the audience sometimes get this quizzical look on their face. And I know what they're thinking. They're thinking two brains. I know people who don't even have one brain in their head, that sort of thing. But, what we study is that the second brain or the gut can actually produce a lot of biochemical signals that will be transferred to the brain and the head, and in large measure can determine what our mood is, what our focus is, our stress levels, our resilience levels. We sort of the shorthand way to say this to people to get them interested is that how you feel and how you perform mentally is not just in your head, in your brain, in your, it's also in your gut. And so if we want the brain in our head to perform at its peak potential, we have to look at the second brain first and get those signals balanced.
Yeah, it's funny because I just recently understood that, the neurons, we understand neurons are in our head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you connect those neurons, they create neural pathways, and they're your thoughts and your subconscious. And what I didn't realize is that you have neurons in different parts of your body, like your heart, for example, has neurons, right? Does your stomach also have neurons, your gut?
Right. Absolutely. So we look at that's one of the reasons that we call them second brains, is because they're these dense collection of neurons. And so the heart and the gut can actually operate on their own without any input from the brain and the head. And so that's what sort of designates them as a brain. But then we look at how they impact the brain and the head. And, your gut is actually making, we call it the second brain because it's making the majority of the serotonin in your body. That's sort of the happiness neurotransmitter. It's making 70% of your dopamine, which is involved in motivation. It's making most of your GABA, which is involved in helping us relax. And really importantly, it's making the majority of your norepinephrine. That's the neurotransmitter that really helps us focus. So if you can get all of those neurotransmitters in balance in the gut where they're originating from, you can have a positive impact in how the brain and the head perform. So mental acuity is better, focus is better, creativity is better, stress resilience is better. All the things that we want our brain to do, it does better if our gut is also in balance.
Interesting. Well, as you're saying that, I'm thinking to myself, one thing you didn't mention was cortisol, which is the kind of the negative side
Mm-hmm.
of the neurotransmitters. That's the part where you feel the chemical that makes you feel stress and anxiety and things
That's
like
right.
that. When your gut's out of balance, does that increase the cortisol production?
Yes, that's exactly what happens. So having what we call dysbiosis, an imbalance of the microbiome, the bacteria in your gut, that can lead to an overexposure to cortisol. Your body views that very much as a unique kind of stress. So when I say that the gut is sending signals to the brain, it's actually sending signals throughout the entire body, what we call the gut-brain axis. Some of those signals will go to the adrenal glands where that cortisol is being produced. And if you're getting the wrong signals, your body's going to view that as a stress. You're going to produce more cortisol. So we've shown in some of our trials that not only can we modulate what's happening in the gut to help people focus better and perform better mentally, but we can also help them be more stress resilient. So in some of our trials, we measure cortisol levels and they go down on the order of about 30%, which is fantastic, because cortisol is bad in and of itself for the brain. It can cause brain neurons to break down, and that's not good, but it can also interfere with the activity of your neurotransmitters. So there's one aspect where you want the right level of neurotransmitters, but then there's the other aspect of you also want them to work effectively. And in order to do that, you need to get the cortisol levels down. So focusing on the gut can actually accomplish both of those pieces of biochemistry at the same time.
Got it. So microbiome is a new buzzword that's going on right now. Can you explain that so we understand what that is, so we have the correct context as we move forward?
Yeah, the microbiome is one of the hottest areas of research right now, and it's almost difficult to overstate how important the microbiome is for overall human health and performance. But just to understand it for people, the microbiome is the term that we use to refer to the collection of good and bad bacteria that live in our gut. And so actually, when we use the term microbiome, we're talking about the actual bacteria and their genetic makeup. And so, the reason this is important, it isn't necessarily because of the bacteria, it's because of the signals that they send from the gut to the rest of the body. So your microbiome modulates your immune system, modulates your level of inflammation, modulates a lot of your stress hormones, modulates your neurotransmitters like we just talked about. So, there's a lot of communication that comes from that microbiome. And think of it this way, if you have too many bad bacteria, they're sending the wrong kinds of signals. If you have not enough good bacteria, they're not sending enough of the good signals. The general idea, and this simplifies this a little bit, but just so people understand, we want to get less bad bacteria and more good bacteria so that we have better signals being sent throughout our entire body.
Got it. Well, we can understand that. Less bad.
That's right.
So, and so people understand some of the names, because, you're in the, maybe you take probiotics and you're in Whole Foods, for example, and you're looking at the prices, like your eyes bulge out, and then you look at the back of it and see what's included. What are some of the names that people will see so they understand what these microbiomes are?
Yeah, when people start looking at the side of products, what they're going to see are, Lactobacillus acidophilus. They're going to see Bifidobacterium longum. They're going to see Bifidobacterium bifidum. There's all these sort of gobbledygook names, Latin nomenclature. But one of the things that I think is important for people to understand, and we've only known this for about 5 years, is that it's not so much that you want a huge number of these bacteria, or that you want a very diverse collection of them in your product. You really want to focus on something that we call strain specificity. So something we've learned just recently is that certain strains of bacteria will have very specific effects in the body. So one of these strains might help with your constipation. One of these strains might help with your bloating. Another strain might help with your mood. Another strain might help with your focus. And so that idea of strain specificity, we can actually say to somebody, if you want better stress resilience, take this strain. If you want better mood, take that strain. If you want less anxiety, take that strain. It's really getting to be like nearly therapeutic with this idea of strain specificity. And so, a lot of people will hear that and they'll go, oh gosh, now I need to become a microbiome expert in order to choose the right supplement. And it's not really that, because the companies that are really using these clinically validated strains, they'll go out of their way to say, hey, we're using this strain and it delivers this benefit. And if you're not seeing that kind of stuff on your products, you probably should choose something else, because they might be using a generic strain that doesn't really do much of anything.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because, if I think most people are like me when I go to look for probiotics. I mean, people that take I think, first of all, most people don't take probiotics, right?
Right.
And so, but the ones who do are like me. They don't know what they're looking for, so they just go and they look for maybe what's on sale, and then they have no idea what's on the back of the package.
Right.
And so, And so the last time I went, I have to confess, the last time I went, it was uh, the probiotic. It was specifically for women, but it was on
Uh-huh.
sale. It was like 50 billion. I go, 50 billion is better than 30 billion. So
Right, right. And that's what a lot of people would think. But I mean, to be honest, if you go and you choose one just based on it has the most, or it has, the largest number, you could actually upset the balance of your microbiome. So you really have to be a little bit, of a smart customer on this. I tell people to approach this whole probiotic space as a open-minded skeptic, right? That if a company can point to one and say this one does that, and it's been shown in human trials, then you can believe them. If they're not making those claims, it's like I said, it's probably one of those generics. Let me give you a quick example. We know, so here's an example I try to give to people. I've done some studies on one specific strain called Lactobacillus rhamnosus 11. R0011 is the strain designation. That one has really good evidence for lowering cortisol, primary stress hormone, and increasing GABA, the primary neurotransmitter that helps us relax. So that one, in a sense, could be thought of as like an anti-stress strain of bacteria. So you take Lactobacillus rhamnosus 11, you're going to feel less stressed. You're going to be more stress resilient. You're going to feel better. You're going to be able to focus. Lovely. If you just listen to that and said, yeah, Lactobacillus rhamnosus, whatever, and you went to the grocery store and picked one, you'd very likely pick a very widely distributed one called Lactobacillus rhamnosus GG, which is really, really good if you have traveler's diarrhea, right? It can help with that aspect of gut health, but it's not going to help with the stress resilience and the relaxation. So that's the difference. 11 is doing the stress, GG is doing the gut rebalancing. So very different effects.
yeah, it is like way different than I think a lot of people realize, and way more effective. It kind of reminds me of the Matrix, right? Like you're inserting programs into your body by taking these pills, and these they have like like 11 different, or you go to the store, it's got a probiotic, 12 different strains. It's like, okay, I got 12 programs. I have no idea what they are,
That's right.
but
That's right. Exactly.
with my body, and then they may clear up your diarrhea that you didn't have, but you're not going to get the stress relief like you just said.
That's right.
Wow, that's incredible. So so that leads us to the question of, do you have something that that helps with ADHD specifically? Because we're the ADHD Toolbox. We know that the microbiome can be a major cause of this. For some people, it's all the reason why they're having these problems. For other people, it's just a contributing factor. What are the products, or where can we find products that can help with that specifically?
Yeah. So one of the revelations that we've really had over the last couple of years is that there are a lot of natural options for helping people to focus better, right? To, take them from ADHD to real clear thinking, or take them from brain fog and have the brain fog lift. There's,
Right.
we can use some of the standard suspects, the ginkgos and, the grape seeds and things like that. Our laboratory has done some work around pine bark and around pomegranate extract. And, there's all kinds of things that will work to help you focus better, that work in the brain and the head. But what we've found over the last couple of years is that this idea of the gut-brain axis can really take it to a new level. So we still want to use some of those phytonutrients that work directly in the brain. But if we can get those neurotransmitters coming from the gut by using specific probiotic bacteria, specific kinds of prebiotic fibers, other kinds of phytonutrients like flavonoids and polyphenols that will work primarily in the gut, more in the second gut than more in the second brain in the gut than in the first brain in the head, those can actually deliver a resilience benefit that accentuates and amplifies the focus benefit. So, one of the studies that we just recently did, we were looking at, we use saffron as a sort of a primary ingredient. We looked at holy basil, but then we also combined it with prebiotic fibers. So we're getting effect in the gut. And what we found was this really, really cool effect in ADHD kids, in that we could see benefits in their focus attributes. So focus was better, attention was better, irritation was down, all the things that we would want from an ADHD sort of, benefit. But then a lot of times what happens is that when those kids are put in a stressful situation where now their cortisol is going up, the wheels kind of come off. You know, they might have a meltdown, they might have a blow up, they might be acting out more in that stressful situation. If we're also affecting the gut at the same time, now we see those attributes are sort of carry through. So in the trial that we just did, we saw a 29% improvement in those attributes of focus and attention and listening and things like that. But then when the kids were put in a stressful situation, like, you know, schoolwork, doing a test at school, doing a sports performance, doing a social situation, those performance attributes, they were maintained. And, you know, a lot of times they sort of go away. We don't see that maintenance all the time unless we're affecting both brains simultaneously. So that's the big revelation to us. We're, you know, presenting these data at a lot of different scientific conferences this year to really get this idea across that, yeah, there's a lot of really cool things we can do specifically in the brain and the head. But if we bring in that second brain concept, we're going to get these benefits at an even higher level when we're under the most stress.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So, are there any specific products that that you can recommend for mothers with children with ADHD, for parents, or for teachers, or just adults with ADHD that might that'll do what we just talked about? You know,
yeah. So yeah, that particular product that I just described that works is sort of when the kids are at rest and when they're under stress. That one's called Kids Mood Plus, and it's from a company I'm part of, Amari Global. And so, you know, we really looked at that from the perspective of Amari is a mental wellness company, and we want to help with mood, we want to help with focus, we want to help with resilience, and kids have, you know, as much or more need for that kind of stuff as their parents do these days, right? Kids have a lot of stress, which can lead them to be depressed and anxious. They have a lot of stress, which can lead them to have problems with focus. You know, they want to have good high levels of performance, you know, if they're testing and things like that. And so that product, what we try to do is formulate it in a way that was, yes, it does the focus piece. Yes, it does the stress resilience piece. Yes, it does this overall mood enhancement piece. And we wanted to make sure that those attributes were maintained in those stressful situations. And that's exactly what we found. We actually found in that trial, which is going to be presented at the Experimental Biology Conference, we saw 100% efficacy. So 10 out of 10 kids saw significant benefits if they were addressing this entire gut-brain axis. So it's a very, very, very exciting way to think about the whole thing.
That's amazing. What's the name of the product again?
It's called Kids Mood Plus, and the company is Amari Global.
Got it. So what we'll do is we'll put a link down below. So you'll see the link down below this video where you'll have a link to the product, and you'll also have a link to Amari, so you can learn a little bit about that company. And you're part of that organization as well. I've seen you speak there, so which is where we met originally. So thank you very much for coming on this program and sharing this stuff. It's so interesting that you know that these things are causing problems, and they're probably causing other problems too. Is that what these supplements that Amari offers attend to?
Yeah, I think we're in a time in our society right now where I think people are they're sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? They're sick and tired of the kind of synthetic pharmaceutical kinds of options that are out there, whether it's antidepressant drugs or anti-anxieties, or in the ADHD space, you know, a lot of these pharmaceutical options they're basically synthetic amphetamines. You know, they're speed, they're stimulants, and those aren't things that I think most people want themselves to be on or their children to be on long term. So, you know, I'm very passionate about letting people understand that there are some very, very effective natural options out there. And if you can find the ones that are backed up by science, then why not give those a try before you resort to one of those, synthetic, potentially addicting kinds of treatments that are out there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think I heard you talk about them as mental wellness supplements. Is that what you call them?
Right. That's exactly right. Mental wellness for us really encompasses everything from depression and anxiety, kind of on the low end, but to absolute high achievement, thriving on the high end. But where so many people find themselves is kind of in the middle of what we call the mental wellness continuum, where they just feel kind of okay, kind of fine, kind of blah. You know, their energy and focus might not be as high as they want to. Their ability to relax isn't as good as they want. They might have a little bit of irritability and a little bit of stress. That's sort of the normal situation for most people, but it's not where we're supposed to be. If we can use some of these natural options to accelerate our performance mentally and physically, I think that's where most people would want to go if they had the option.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, it's amazing and obvious when you think about it, right? It's like, where else would the neurochemicals be created but the gut, right? From what you eat, and the chemicals are created. Then they are sent to the brain, right? The chemicals are they sent to the brain, or do they?
Yeah, that's a piece of it that we're still trying to tease out. So we know that, a lot of the things that we take in our diet, amino acids like, tyrosine and phenylalanine and things like that are used as building blocks to make those neurotransmitters. So we know we can, if we give the right phytonutrients, we can make more of those neurotransmitters. And we know that people who make more of the neurotransmitters in their gut, they feel better. And we can measure that kind of stuff in our clinical trials. What we're still trying to tease out is, how does that signal get from the gut to the brain and the head? It's not like these neurotransmitters just leak out of the gut and then flow in the bloodstream and leak into the brain. We know it doesn't work that way. But what we think is that the immune system might have some way of finding out what's happening in the gut and then transferring that signal to the brain, and vice versa, finding out what's happening in the brain and transferring that signal to the gut. So your immune system, we think, is very much acting like a surveillance organ that's connecting these two brains together. So that's a big part when we say the gut-brain axis. The axis, that the way that these signals are being transmitted, is also a really important target for us.
Got it. So we're talking about the microbiome. We're talking about probiotics and how the probiotic specific strains can actually affect your production of serotonin and norepinephrine and things like that are going to affect your mood and will affect and maybe either exacerbate ADHD behavior or correct it. And what we haven't talked about, and this is also a big buzz out there, is the leaky gut.
Right.
Yeah, how does leaky gut fit into this equation, and how does it affect ADHD?
Yeah, leaky gut is a big problem out there. It's, there's almost nobody out there that doesn't have some level of leaky gut. And the problem with leaky gut, meaning that your gut is permeable. Your gut has, think of your gut lining as a wall, and a leaky gut would have holes in it. And through those holes, things that are supposed to stay in the gut can get across into your systemic circulation. The reason that's bad, because of all this signaling that we've been talking about, getting the right signals produced in the gut, getting those good signals transferred to the brain. If you have a leaky gut, you're basically inducing static into this communication system between your two brains. And so that can interfere with it. It can make you feel irritable. It can make you feel tense. It can give you that brain fog, so you can't concentrate and you can't focus. If we can just close up that leaky gut, or in our lingo, restore good gut permeability, right? So you have a good integrity of your gut. It's not permeable anymore. That in and of itself, just having better signaling membrane, can help people feel better. Their focus is better, their physical performance is better, their resilience is better. So now think about this. We've got the gut lining as a target to help people focus better. We've got the brain in your head as a target. We've got your microbiome as a target. We've got your immune system in your axis as a target. It's a really, really cool time, because like this problem, ADHD, that we used to think of exclusively as a brain issue, now we know we can positively manage by looking at all these other aspects of our gut-brain axis, and it makes our natural options that much more effective.
Now, why are the holes being created in your gut in the first place?
A lot of those holes come from stress. So the stress that we get in our brain from our modern lifestyles, right? That can lead to problems in the gut in terms of permeability. It can also be, in large measure, it's that we're not getting enough fiber in our diets, and instead we're getting too much processed food and too much sugar. So people ask me all the time, what's the one thing that I can do to improve my gut integrity, or to improve my microbiome balance, or to improve my neurotransmitter signaling across that gut-brain axis? The number one thing is eat more fiber. And if you do that, hopefully you're getting your fiber from brightly colored fruits and vegetables. but just by doing that, you're reducing your sugar, you're reducing your processed food. So you're sort of getting both sides of the equation. You're doing less damage to your gut, and you're doing healing to your gut by getting that fiber. Because that fiber is going to serve as a fuel source for the good bacteria. You grow more good bacteria, you make more of these neurotransmitters, and everything starts going in the right direction.
And so processed foods basically stop the production or slow the production of the good neurotransmitters, that thus causing anxiety and depression.
Yeah, that's right. Because if you're eating a lot of processed food, you're getting a lot of sugar, you're getting a lot of food that's devoid of fiber. What you're in essence doing is growing the bad bacteria, right? Those bad bacteria are thriving on those processed foods. They're going to be sending staticky signals into your whole gut-brain axis. If we can starve them out by eating less processed food and replace that with these good high fiber, high phytonutrient foods, like a Mediterranean style diet, now you starve the bad guys, you grow the good guys, and you're basically dialing down the static, and you're turning up the volume on those good neurotransmitter signals.
And what I've seen, everything I've seen in documentaries and conversations with people like yourself, it doesn't take long. I mean, within a couple of weeks, you could see complete transformations.
Yeah, we start to see the results when we're measuring microbiome in our studies. We start to see those results around 3 or 4 days, but after a week, they're definitely meaningful. I mean, meaningful enough where people can feel it, where they go, oh, after a week of doing this, your brain fog lifts, your clarity gets better, your focus is better, you're able to engage with whatever it is that you're working on. It's like a veil has been lifted on these people.
Got it. Got it. Well, this has been a very enlightening conversation. I'm sure people will want more information. Where can they find you if they want to get more information on some of the?
So I do a lot of blogging, with podcasts and articles that I write at my website, which is just my name, ShawnTalbott.com, and that's probably the best place for people to get info.
Got it. So Shawn, SHAWN, Talbott, TALBOTT, so 2 T's.com. If you go there, you'll find Dr. Talbott's blog, and you can get tons more information on some of these studies that he's done, some of the products that you can use. Of course, click the link below, and you'll be able to find out more about Amari, and also find out more about the product that we just talked about, which was the, can you tell me the name again? It was
Kids Mood Plus, right? And so we named it Mood because it helps with mood, but it really, really helps with focus and resilience, and all the things you want for your gut brain axis to perform optimally.
Do they have an adult Mood Plus?
Well, what's funny is that we call it Kids Mood Plus, and what we see is that adults are using it at least a high intake level like kids are. So we'll see social medias where the mom is going, one for you, one for you, one for me. Because it works in adults just like it would in kids. But it's what we call a direct to mouth powder. It's like a pixie stick. You dump it in your mouth, and so that makes it easy for kids to take.
Got it. And so if an adult wants to do it, they can do it, no problem. They don't have to double the dose or anything.
No, not at all. I take it almost every afternoon to help me sort of push through that 3 o'clock, fog that that a lot of us get.
No wonder you look so young. So Kids Mood Plus, it's for everyone. Mom, that means you too, and everybody you guys can take it together and give it a week. I mean, give it a month. Use the full thing and check it out and see how it works for you. It sounds
right.
Phenomenal. And you know what? It's better than throwing stuff against the wall to see if it sticks, like I
Right, exactly.
Find probiotics. So a little embarrassed about that, but anyway. So to wrap things up, you have a free gift for us. Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, so that's my 5 top tips to help with ADHD, right? If you really want to get your brain dialed in so that you can not just have the mental acuity and the mental energy, but actually be able to focus that and engage that on whatever, your work, your family, your hobbies, whatever it is. I'm going to send people my 5 tips so they're very doable things you can plug into your life.
Awesome. So we will put that link down below as well. So you'll see that. Just scroll down and you'll see that link for Dr. Talbott's 5 tips to help you improve your ADHD. And awesome. This has been phenomenal. I love it. I can go back and watch it again, see what I missed. So much information, and it's so obvious, right? It's so obvious when you think about it. But of course, the food goes into your stomach, it gets processed, and that's where everything happens, and it goes from there.
Right. And now that we can measure that kind of stuff scientifically, we can go and we can modulate it. We can really help people now.
Right, right. And some families that do this will see a complete transformation. Some may have to do more, but at least it'll be a start. And if you don't do this, it's going to be, it's probably part of the problem, if not the complete problem.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our program today. I really enjoyed the conversation and love the information.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you all for watching this episode of the ADHD Toolbox. We'll see you on the next episode.